page.
Ad tech, ad talk, it's a live Q&A. Buy side, sell side, clearing the way. CEO spitting truth, no delay. Chalice and Gamera owning the day. Adam drops gems, he's breaking it down. How the buy side spins, dollars around. Gareth steps up with that data finesse.
There we go.
Selling it right, no room for a guess. The mics are hot, the beats hit hard.
All right. Two ad tech CEOs go round the outside, round the buy side, round the sell side. Yes, they're back.
Are we live? We're sorry we're 6 minutes late. We actually did the first 6 minutes of the show without going live, so we're gonna hit it again. Hello, Ad Tech World. Welcome to episode 11 of Ad Tech Ad Talk. Me and Gareth saw each other in person last night at the book party for Ari Paparo's Yield, the book about Google's dominance of the ad tech world. I'm on like 147 or so with header bidding coming out. I got my book signed at the party. Saw a lot of ad tech heroes, including Gareth Glazer, Andrew Casale, Joe Zawadzki, Steph Glazer. And it was a good time. Seeing Gareth was great. He's much taller than he looks here in the set where we look the same size. But I'll give you a quick review of the book so far. More next week as I get through it. You know, I really think Ari did an amazing job being accurate and clear about the history of ad tech, what led to Google's dominance, setting up with historical account Google's conducts, and really just getting them across. I know it's really tough material. Spend a lot of time trying to describe Google conducts myself. You have to use a lot of analogies. You have to focus on what's important when describing these things and avoid detail. And he did an amazing job. He's a great technical writer. The book has a lot of characters. Brian O'Kelly is someone who sticks out as a bit of a, very strong character in the book, and all the others that I just named. But the book is a little dry and technical. I think if it gets reviewed in the mainstream press, Ari might get dinged for that. It's not like a Michael Lewis book where the human story comes out with the technical story. So a little drier, but I'm very happy with it. Knowing all the characters, it's a blast to read. I don't need to. I don't need the what those people are like to be conveyed. So I think everyone agreed who was there, and everyone else who's reading it has agreed. Ari did an amazing job with a difficult assignment that he gave himself. To switch careers in your 50s is to be commended. To even try is awesome, and Ari's been very successful in switching from a ad tech founder to an author. Round of applause for Ari. So talk more about it next week. Maybe Gareth, you'll catch up and we could talk about it together. But I'll finish it next week and have a second half review and thoughts. But okay, a lot going on this week. Gareth, tell us about your morning. We had a very dramatic morning in the tech.
I sure did. Yeah, so I wasn't sure I was going to be on the show today, guys. Basically, I had a normal morning in terms of what's normal for people who have a 5-year-old and a 2-year-old. In that my 2-year-old, he had a little bit of a fever. He's cranky. He's been under the weather the past couple days. And when you have a 5-year-old and a 2-year-old, that's just life, right? Like there's nothing to remark upon there. It's like, oh, he has another ear infection. Great. Like tap our giant stock of antibiotics that we keep under the fridge. So this morning we're like, okay.
On tap.
Yeah, on tap, a nice a beer tap of antibiotics that you need to have when you have 2 small children.
So convenient.
Let alone 3 or 4. So this morning we're dividing and conquering. My wife's like, oh, okay, I'll take him to the urgent care. They'll give us more amoxicillin, and you take our daughter to camp. And so I'm loading my daughter up, and I get a call from my wife. Sebastian just threw up blood. Their urgent care has called an ambulance, and you need to get here right now.
That's not on the list of normal occurrences. Even like blood in the poop is like something you get inured to, but throwing up blood,
it's one of those things where it's a real red flag. Like there's a lot of parenting is a lot of substances and like gross things that you just get used to, and throwing up blood is just not one that you get used to. It's never a good thing. So We load him up. We take him to the hospital. He rides in an ambulance. This is actually very funny. He got very upset leaving the ambulance because he's a 2 year old and he loves ambulances. So he wasn't upset because he was feeling bad. He was upset because he was like, I want to go back in the ambulance. Don't take me out of the ambulance. This is really fun. And so he enjoyed that. And then, just pure chaos. But as it turns out, sometimes when they're vomiting and he like it was a gag reflex got triggered. They were trying to look at his throat and he just wasn't having it. And turns out when they're vomiting, sometimes they can tear something and they can bleed, but we're still waiting to find out. But either way, he ate an
I did
entire
too.
donut. So it can't be that bad in the
Oh
world
yeah.
of if the kid's chomping down donuts, they're normally that's a sign that it's going to be all right. Um,
Paris
when
baguette.
yeah,
Paris baguette has hit New York City pretty hard.
I think it's hit everywhere pretty hard. He's developed a taste for it, and now he walks out the front door, and it's Paris or Duncan. Those are the two that are on his
Yeah.
mind.
So
But
all that is
yes,
to say, while Gareth was at the hospital, I was scrambling for another sell side expert to sit in the seat. Uh, got one. So this will now be AdTech Ad Talk's first spontaneous threesome. AdTech Ad Talk World, please welcome our special guest sell side expert, Justin Wall from Aditude.
hey Justin,
Hey,
You guys know each other?
sure do.
sure do. So
Um,
Justin, tell us about yourself, buddy. Tell us about your life. Tell us what you do.
yeah.
Well, I've had the privilege of being on the receiving end of both of your pitches at one point or another in my lifetime in the career, which is
Nice.
great. But yeah, so I'm coming from the publisher side here, really producing publisher-driven ad tech for the industry. I was chief revenue officer for Salon.com and Snopes.com, and we ran both of those businesses programmatic first, programmatic only. And now I'm building software at Attitude for others to use and get the benefit from.
All right. Now,
Nice,
in
man.
the spirit of ad tech history, tell us where you were in 2017 as header bidding was taking over the sell side, changing things radically in the lead up to the 2023 Google trial, 2024 Google trial. Where were you in that when it went down?
I was in a position of watching programmatic emerge faster than I could get my hands on it and watching it kind of take our lunch. So I was working at Federated Media, a network that was monetizing a bunch of mommy blogs and lifestyle blogs, other types of websites, all with direct sold. And that business was consumed by programmatic tech. We watched it happen. We watched our publishers move to promises of much higher fill rates than we were bringing with the direct orders. And that business ultimately was wound down. But it inspired me to say, I don't know what just happened to us, but I got to find out. And I really started my journey into programmatic tech at that point and have been with it ever since. I went from Federated Media to Salon.com, which was struggling financially. And we were able to turn the business around and restore it to profitability and eventually package it up for sale, all with programmatic advertising.
That's amazing. I think you're one of the more public advocates for programmatic and publishing, and you're saying like this is a good way to make money. So what's really the difference? Uh, what? Big coup. Someone's got to read that to me. What's the difference between a publisher that can make money in programmatic and the many who complain and say they can't?
Historically, there was really just two routes. You had to either trust somebody else to do it for you or stand up a team of experts internally. And the idea that every single publication also has enough resources to be programmatic experts and have a team of developers that work on that full time, kind of unrealistic. So today, I don't hear that argument quite as much anymore. Because of this third way that exists where publishers really can find a partner like Attitude and have their business run for them where they're still in control. They've got the UI to do what they want to do themselves when they need to. But programmatic is definitely something that needs to be custom fit for each website that you're working on. And I think a publisher today is in a better position than ever to take control of the data that they know about their audience and their inventory and put that to work in programmatic to get the best yield they can.
So I'm going to ask a follow-up question then. So how is your work at Attitude moving that vision forward? What do you say is the next phase in publishers monetizing their inventory through programmatic?
So I joined on the tail end of a merger and acquisition. Aditude bought Hashtag Labs last year, and I came in as VP of strategy in a big way January 1st to work on the integration of those two technologies. So with them combined, publishers have a UI to see all of their programmatic configuration and do everything they want hands-on without a developer necessarily. So in the day-to-day of being a revenue operator at a website, you've got all your different programmatic partners, and there's different IDs that they want trafficked, and sometimes, publishers get really bogged down by having each and every one of those things have to be launched in a dev release. And so the idea of the tech that was built at Hashtag Labs and acquired by Aditude is that a non-dev can go into the UI, change something, hit update, and that code gets pushed out to the wrapper. But Aditude also has real-time analytics about the auction. And what I've seen in the first 6 months of working here is publishers' eyes just light up and go, we didn't know. We didn't know all this information before because they were kind of stuck behind someone else doing this job for them. But I really do believe that publishers need to know with granularity every aspect of their programmatic business. And so seeing performance by ad unit, by bidder, by geo, by device, by browser, like as granular as you want to get, that data is available and commercial decisions can be made on them once you know it. So to sum it up, I would say I'm in the business of informing everybody what's available to them and helping them to make use of that data to drive commercial strategy.
That's awesome. Help me as a buy side guy when you were describing like getting IDs ready, getting things ready. Or is that like making audiences and shipping out PMPs? Like what's the buy side uh, view of that work?
The very most simple work is connecting the supply pipes. So there's been analogies made for what we do to plumbing, and I don't think they're so inaccurate. There is a tremendous amount of value simply in lining up the connections with your SSP partners and making sure that those supply paths are authorized. We've seen over the last few years a big adoption of the supply analysis done by Jounce. And I think that education has been really helpful to the publishing side in saying we need to know exactly who's authorized to sell this inventory so that when it does get to the buy side, it's coming through in a trustworthy, measurable, known way.
Awesome. So Gareth, I'm gonna kick to you then. Where does that mission fit in with Gamaras?
Oh, absolutely does.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's a business that I used to be in, right? Like this is what RTK did. Um, I think that pre-bid wrappers are the future. So, like
What's a
Adam, if I say pre-bid wrapper, do you know what I'm
tell people
referring
what a
to?
pre-bid wrapper is? Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Like,
So a pre-bid wrapper,
I know what prebid.org is.
yeah, so prebid.org is a framework, right? It's an open source set of code that runs auctions. And there are two different flavors. There's client side, which means it happens in the user's browser, and there's server side, which means it happens in a set of servers somewhere far away. And what Prebid was built to do is manage bids from exchanges. And this is a really crazy thing because even I think most buyers don't understand that when their DSP bids into an exchange, the exchange takes the winner of the DSP auction and has to bid into another auction. There's another one, and it's pre-bid. And ostensibly, there's another one after that, and it's the GAM auction, right? The publisher ad server auction. But I'm pretending that one doesn't exist because it's inconvenient to how I describe this. So the amazing part about this, and I think what is driving all of the change in the industry, is people are realizing, hey, we don't need two of these. We don't need two systems that can do an auction of bids. We only really need one. And one set of these are exchanges. They were built in 2005. They're old. They have long product cycles. They are non-transparent. No, people don't know what they do. And my goodness, do they do shenanigans. There are infinite shenanigans within an ad exchange between ID bridging, dynamic rev shares, you name it. They do things to make money. They're money-making businesses. And then there's Prebid, and it's open source. And we know exactly what's going on because a lot of it's happening client side. The configuration is available for people to look at. And if you run non like vanilla prebid and weird prebid, people figure it out. They can see it. So in my
Now what's
mind,
yes,
yeah.
now what's a wrapper?
So now what's a wrapper? A wrapper refers to a company, and originally prebid itself is referred to as a wrapper. But the wrapper and the wrapper management company, which is what Aditude does, amongst many other things, and what RTK did, is a company that manages the pre-bid software that is wrapping up all the bids from the auction and pushing them into the ad server. And that is so that's where wrapper came from. It's wrapping all of these adapters, all of these configurations up, and turning them into a pre-bid bundle. And then that holds your clients at auction, pushes the bids in.
Yep.
The reason I love this is sunshine's the best disinfectant. If we are going to fix programmatic auctions, we've already fixed the sell side one because pre-bid fixes it. Pretty indisputably, we have an open source software that is the final programmatic decisioning mechanism for all of our auctions.
Yep.
I think companies like Aditude and publishers owning this. My gosh, publishers, like Justin was saying, right? Aditude gives them all these analytics. They give them all these things. They give them all these insights about what's going on. That's amazing. This is an open source tool that's giving publishers access to all of this stuff. This is how programmatic should be. This is the best way for it to be. And so I'm a believer that people are starting to realize this. And that's why there's pressure on SSPs to do other stuff because people are like, why don't all the DSPs just go directly to the pre-bid wrapper, to the instance of the technology that's managing the bids from the exchanges? Because a DSP could bid into that just as easily as an SSP can.
All right.
And yes, there it is.
That brings us to open path, which I do want to talk about. Let's take the
Oh,
viewer
yeah.
question. Maldo, anyone else read it? Yeah.
Can you give an example of what a publisher learned that was new and made them have an epiphany?
Absolutely, yeah. Being able to see what bidders are performing in certain geos or in certain browsers helps to let a publisher start to think about, like for the very first time, simply seeing that somebody doesn't buy your inventory in Germany lets you say, well, why am I putting it up for sale in Germany then if it's never being bought? And that this idea of having a set of commercial ideas around what you want to make available and to whom is what the current state of pre-bid allows. To Gareth's earlier point about the multiple exchanges that exist, I think until quite recently, publishers just sent a universal auction request, and then all the exchanges did their thing thereafter. But we're allowing publishers to say, hold on, what is my role here? Well, I should be claiming more value for this. So some of the very most simple adjustments that we see publishers taking when they get hands-on with this software is saying, I don't want to be sending bid requests, or I don't want to be initiating auctions or sending data about that impression opportunity to companies who aren't going to be participating beneficially to me in certain regions. So we see decisioning at the geo level and at the device level as well, because some companies don't buy Android and some companies are not buying iOS.
So is there a constraint? It sounds like you're saying if by giving out bid requests that aren't bid on, that you lose something else. So is there a trade-off, a constraint that mandates a trade-off for sellers and sending out bid requests? Yeah.
Yeah, this open source software pre-bid, it really makes a lot of information available to all parties at once. And that's not necessarily in the publisher's best interest. I think that were it to be re-reviewed, and that's kind of what the opportunity today is for publisher-driven ad tech, is to say, hold on, wait a second, this bundle of IDs about my user, shouldn't necessarily go to different companies and allow them to stand up businesses like identity bridging.
I see.
So
There's another component too, I think. Yeah.
publisher knows right away where their traffic came from, if that person has been there before, if they're going to have logged in and there's an email known about that person, and then a second set of IDs are generated once that information is transmitted to the pre-bid ecosystem for user syncing. And by default, all of that information that comes back from separate parties goes to all of the parties. And that this is the, I think, area of most immediate focus that publishers should be looking at today in 2025, going into Q4, the most valuable time of the year. We should be looking at what ID information is being given away without value returned.
Wow, it's parallel on the buy side. It's right. You could be an actual publisher or you could just be gaming. And it's the same thing in buying. Like you could actually be trying to achieve good placements for your advertiser, or you could just be gaming CPA and not never think about that. And it's just so funny that there's all these people just gaming on both sides. Like there's no real value in it, just playing and trying to get, but there's all this real money involved, right? And it's like all of us who care about media, about publishing and or advertising are just always competing with these people who want to use the technology to scam and game.
I can't wish them away entirely though, because innovation does continue to emerge from the gamers. The guys who have the most on the line or who are looking to make that extra few points, they find a way, and technology does develop as a result of those findings. I think that we are where we are today in programmatic over 10 years of development, at least in some part because of some of these gamers.
Yeah, it's like what Omar says when he's on the stand in The Wire. You got the briefcase, I got the shotgun, but it's all in the game.
It's funny. The one of the beauties of pre-bid is it's a nice flat auction, right? So it's value extraction has to
Come back.
Oh, Gareth. So it's surprising this never happened before. All right.
Yeah, there we go.
Action, go back. Value
Yeah, there we go.
extraction.
Yeah, value extraction has to exist in skimming, right? That's like where it needs to occur because there's no way to get inventory cheaper unless you're doing something really nasty. And I spend a lot of time talking to buyers about here's how you protect yourself from the really nasty things. And also, if you're getting inventory really cheap and it seems like there's this one traffic source that has this domain way cheaper than the other ones, not a good thing, bad thing. Like
Yeah.
that's a bad thing.
As you were
Um,
saying last week that some publishers think OpenPath is an expensive path, and it's probably because they're comparing it to something that's fake. And then I heard from a reporter, someone on the sell side, an exchange most likely, is shopping a story that Trade Desk is forcing more traffic to OpenPath, and it's non-disclosed, and it's not the best path.
oh God, they got to you too. Um,
Someone's shopping that story. I
they are.
might have made it go. I shot it away. It's like unless somebody shows you evidence that it's not the best path, you have to assume Trade Desk is doing more open paths because it's finding it's the best path. Like that's what their
It,
algorithm is supposed to do. I'm
it,
wearing my Trade Desk colors today, and hoping for them to have a good day on the market. I am Team Trade Desk, but not everything they do is perfect. But if you're going to accuse them of something, bring the evidence. Don't just shop
yeah,
a story as a whisper campaign and try to use a reporter to amplify your complaining.
and don't use something that is pretty unequivocally a good for buyers in terms of transparency and efficiency to like kill the buyer. That's horrible. Like they're weird. It's like
Yeah.
punishing Trade Desk for doing the right thing. It's crazy, and it ends up propping up. So Justin was talking about ID bridging, right? Like a lot of these middlemen, the way they make more money is they send in fake user IDs. It's that simple. This is just call ID bridging what it is. It's I know DSPs want these user IDs. I am going to wave a magic probabilistic wand and turn this one into this one and say it's that. And
Yeah.
I still don't understand how this is fraud, but it's neither here nor there.
Mhm.
And a lot of the exchanges do that. And you know who doesn't do that? Who can't do that? Who is not interested in doing that? OpenPath. Because if OpenPath did it, it would be bald-faced fraud and they would get sued. Where it's like, hey, Trade Desk, I uploaded a list of user IDs and you didn't buy them. Um, that's
Wait, why
that's
can't they
just
do it? I mean, it's the
I
seller who
mean,
can do it, right?
they could. So when you introduce the middle layer, it creates this level of deniability.
Oh, who did it? Right.
Yeah, who did it? If Trade
Mhm.
Desk did it in OpenPath, they would be doing it in their DSP.
Yeah.
Because they have access to the client, they know the IDs. They would have to be really knowingly lying.
Right.
Ostensibly, when you do it in the middle, you say, well, it's not a deterministic ID, it's a probabilistic ID. And I used this service to map it, and
And there's
and you
people in
get
the
to
chain, right?
basically,
It could be the publisher, it could be the exchange, it could be someone who's working with them. But with OpenPath, it's just Trade Desk and the publisher. So if the
bingo.
public, either the publisher did it or Trade Desk did it. So that's
It would be
why,
bald faced if
yeah.
Trade Desk were to do it.
The trade desk also has its own very specific identifiers that it works off of. And so in the OpenPath scenario, the publisher gets that pipe set up with them, back to my plumbing reference. They get that pipe set up directly to the trade desk. And then there's two identifiers that trade desk is looking for. You've got UID1, a cookie sync based match, and UID2, which is if you know the user's email address and you can hash it and package it up and encrypt it into that UID2 token, you can tell the trade desk who that user is in that method.
Yeah.
So they've got two really powerful means of doing their identity of the user already. And a lot of the bridging isn't necessarily going to be to their benefit if a publisher sent it directly to them.
This is why they get very mad when
So
all of a sudden
who's
people can
behind the
deliver
Whisper
it.
campaign? Can you guys guess? I'll take. Who's maddest?
I
Come on,
don't want
guys.
to malign anyone, Adam. This is a gutsy ploy. I actually do have an idea.
Yeah.
I think you're dead on that it's either an exchange or I got a left field one for you, a holdco.
Oh yeah.
Because I think that this really hurts holdcos, right? Because holdcos have rebates in place with exchanges, and they do not have a rebate in place with OpenPath because that doesn't really work. And I think that this is starting to lay things bare to their clients. It's like, hey, why are we delivering on this supply path? And if Trade Desk goes, well, it's because this supply path performs better, and the holdco goes, well, yeah, but we really want this other one. Can you just put it here? Like that doesn't look good. Like that's
Trade Desk's position really sucks then. The holdcos are their biggest clients. So they can't really expose, if that's what's happening, they can't really expose it. So they're getting maligned from the sell side, maligned from their own customers, and yeah, in a
for
really
doing
tight
the right
spot.
thing. It's
They're all,
terrible.
all doing the right thing. Yeah.
I mean,
And
it's
us
crazy.
on the
So
supply
yeah.
side are saying, hey, what are these rebates? I mean, this is something that has flummoxed publishers for a long time to understand why a holdco or brand bought their inventory through one path versus another when both opportunities were presented equally. This is still a challenge that is not always immediately answerable through the data in the transaction. Those rebates or whatever is happening on an accounting layer post-transaction back at the exchange, this is out of sight in the ORTB
Oh yeah.
communication.
Oh,
Yeah, I have a
this is
sell
why
side
I
friend
was
who told me,
shouting for rev shares to be appended, by the way. This all gets fixed if we just start appending rev shares. If every person in the chain appends their rev share, and we
yeah,
know working media versus middlemen fees, and we
yeah,
just get a few people to sign on to that,
yeah, it's just
you know,
accounting, right?
I think that smaller publishers will adopt that very quickly because they are likely the ones with the worst commercial terms. And being able to expose that other peers have better commercial terms would be to their immediate advantage. They're saying, I don't care about what's happening so much so after the exchange, but I at least want another 5% or 10% of the gross media dollar that's being bid to me.
Yeah, I mean, in finance, like every penny has to be accounted for in these transactions. There's no secret
everyone,
fees, so it's like,
everyone. We got a question in. I think
yeah,
it's a good one.
I'll take a good one. Melda?
Yeah.
All right. From RL7115. What's the difference between ID bridging and a probabilistic cross-device graph?
I really like this question. This is a great question.
So I think I'm going to take a guess that is a probabilistic cross-device graph would probably live on the buy side, right? It's Trade Desk or LiveRamp saying, I will buy this ID because I believe as the buyer's agent that it's someone that I'm looking for on a different device, which is, it's much easier to believe that's in the buyer's interest, or at least the buyer has paid into that
They're
graph.
paying for it. It's the service they're providing.
That's what they believe in.
Yeah.
So, and then if they're doing it on the sell side and the buyer is not involved, then they might be paying the wrong price. Is that right?
I completely agree. It's who is doing it. It is
Yeah.
people do not expect exchanges to be sent, and this is people. There's debate about this, right? It's all about one field, right? It's buyer UID. That's the field. It's an open RTB field. It's the what is the user ID for this request that's coming in from the exchange to the DSP, and there was a spat about the language a couple weeks ago on Twitter X where
Hmm.
people were like, the language from the IAB is too vague. The language from the IAB does not insist that it is a deterministic synced cookie and that this user ID coming in is something that the person is certain of. It leaves room for there to be wiggle when it comes to that. And because of that, you have people buying or people passing buyer UIDs that are basically from a probabilistic device graph for all intents and purposes. And the weird thing about probabilities is they have this real tendency to write in IDs that are valuable and make the person who's making the probabilistic assessment more money. They have this really sneaky, nasty tendency to do that. I don't know why, someone would ever let their probabilistic assessment, be informed by their bottom line. But it seems to happen.
It's like making
And
a typo when you're signing a check and accidentally adding a zero to the amount.
yeah, totally. Like, wait, I could send you this ID that I know is worthless or this ID that I know is really valuable. Let me, let me
Yeah.
normalize my probabilities by that. That's probably what they do. Let me normalize my probabilities by the expected value. So I'm
Should
10% certain this
LiveRamp get
one's
in the
this.
business of policing this? Wouldn't
Who?
LiveRamp be?
LiveRamp?
Yeah. Wouldn't they be a
Uh,
good one to?
well, so any DSP can easily police this. This is not hard to police, right? Because when a DSP serves, the DSP has access to the user's browser. They know who it is.
But
It's a
they're
question of
conflicted.
enforcement.
They're conflicted because they need to pace, right? They love to pace.
Right there. They like to, that's, I mean, so the trade desk migrating things to OpenPath, I'm like, oh my God, a DSP is doing the right thing and we're trying to punish them for it. This is crazy. But yes, they need to pay. So a lot of the DSPs are very complicit in this. They like ID bridging. It increases their delivery, increases their scale. And I'm sure someone could provide a verification service for advertisers. I'm sure that they do. Like, did you serve to someone in my audience? The advertiser DMPs must do this. Traffic my pixel. I'll tell you if it's in the audience that you thought you were buying. You can demand a rebate.
I don't
This
think
must
so.
be a product, Adam.
I don't
That
think
must be a
so.
thing.
No, I really don't.
That
Well, I
someone
do
should do
think
it.
that when the creative loads after the auction is won, the advertiser DSP has the chance to see what was available on the page, to your point, Gareth. And
Yep.
so if something expected is absent,
Yep.
then it was introduced at a different time. And um, if there's only one intermediary in between the publisher and the buyer, then it was likely introduced there. But the reality is that the DSPs are seeing multiple representations of the same opportunity through many exchanges. Some publishers have as many as 20 recipients of the initial bid request starting. I have one user, I have one impression opportunity in a right rail 300 by 250 unit, and I send it to 20 different exchanges, some of whom sell it to one another, and then eventually somebody buys it. So there's a lot of opportunity for data to be introduced that wasn't on the page originally in that configuration. And another advantage that I see for the trade desk in OpenPath is that they get an unadulterated look at what the original request was before it's gone through these other places.
Yeah.
Totally.
At
It's the
Index
best.
last night, our friend Mike McNeely was talking to me and Gareth about sending the entire bid request, and he was talking about pieces of the bid request I never heard of. Mike McNeely is
Oh, yeah.
the head of product at Index. Yeah, he's the product lead at Index. And
Yeah.
what was the name of that one?
Oh, it's Bidder.metrics. I know because we push data into it. And then I pinged Judd and I was like, hey, Judd, I got Bidder.metrics for you. Ours are great. They're better than anyone else's. He was like, we don't listen to that. We don't trust that field. Are you kidding me? Like, absolutely not. Because, like one of the things that Gamera provides is we provide this really a granular, superior, historical, average CTR, average viewability, average attention. And it's another one of those fields where it cannot be populated by publishers or exchanges because they are primaries in the transaction. And it gets juiced. I'll never forget this. When I was first working at AppNexus, there was an onboarding question for publishers, and it was like, what category is this site? And it's all self-declared.
Yeah.
And the inevitable answer was always whatever categories had the highest CPM.
Yeah.
That is the word they put in
Auto
there,
sale.
because when you put that word in, it made you more money. And that's why the trade desk can't listen to bidder.metrics, because it's like, hey, if we actually use this to make decisions, it'll become a gaming vector where people will be like, okay, I'm going to say the average CTR for this placement was this, even though, I'm pulling that number out of thin air. And now I'm going to build an algorithm that makes sure I don't say a number that's too high too often. And I'm going to optimize it just like I optimize price floors. And this is why we can't have nice things. This is why, to quote Lila Hunt, this is why we can't have nice things, because they inevitably, any field that gets sent to the buy side inevitably comes a gaming vector
Tell people
for
who Judd
an
is.
intermediary.
Who's Judd?
Oh, Judd is a very early trade desk engineer who I really like,
He's also
actually.
trade
I think
desk representative in the IAB.
he is. And I mean, he's been at the trade desk for over 10 years. He's an early engineer there. And he does a lot of work on a lot of these fields. He's very opinionated. I remember when I was running pre-bid, he was the trade desk GPID guy. Because the GPID was an attempt to standardize all these things. And the
We lost him. Do you know Judd?
Yeah, I do. And the funny thing about GPID for publishers is that it largely is just what they have named that ad unit for their ad manager, for Google Ad Manager's path. And so that naming convention comes through as no matter which SSP had brokered the transaction, the publisher still has that same consistent naming convention for their ad manager instance to look at the ad unit on the page. So that is most often what becomes GPID. We've actually seen Amazon go a bit further, and for APS, they add the div ID as well. So they get both the ad unit and the div targeting on the page as a part of their
What's diff?
GPID. Div is what the publisher puts on the page to tell the code where an ad should go. It's the very first marker of, I want an ad here.
So it's a unique. The problem with GPID is that publishers reuse them, as I understand it. Does div help with that?
It does, and that's why Amazon has added it. So publishers might have the same ad unit name that just says it's a right rail, but
Yeah.
it doesn't say whether it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 down the page. And having the div ID would add that clarity. But anyway, the point is, or my first point anyway, was that publishers learned that this name was being exposed, and so started adding things to the naming convention of their inventory, like premium or viewable. And so
oh my God, that's so funny.
it's still I did this still today. If you look at the right rail inventory on salon.com, it's called desktop in view. And it's with the hope that on some level, as
Someone runs
ingested,
a
as read
report.
by any person or machine, this viewability is communicated as a part of the naming convention.
Oh God,
Mine
And
on my
it's adhesive in view, so it is always in view.
you're honest.
So there's just this all points to there's such a big trust problem in our ecosystem, and Trade Desk is a sort of a regulator that's at the same time trying to make money and maintain a reputation. It's really not ideal, and I just wonder if our friends at Trade Desk should push this regulatory function out of their domain and into third parties at the government or right public
Well,
domain, like they shouldn't be trying to regulate this stuff themselves because they're
so I
conflicted.
got a nice update for this. I'm back, by the way. Um,
Yeah.
so this is a function that we try to perform at Gamera. Is we try to stay out of the supply path, and we try to enrich it with data that's from a company that is not necessarily interested in either side, right? We want the data to be right. And there is a new report that came out, a new Jounce report. I don't know if you guys read it.
No.
So there's a new Chris Kane Jounce report, who I love. I always say this in every conversation. I love Chris Kane.
We love,
Um,
we feel the same way.
and
Justin?
he changes his opinions. He's like he really thinks about like what he's doing.
Yeah.
And that's my favorite thing. I like it when someone will change their opinion on something. That's the key. If I can see someone evolve and change their opinion about something over time, I'm like, oh yes, this is my kind of person.
He's one of the good
Um,
eggs of ad tech.
yes. And the new metric is not based on things that are crawled for a good reason. It's because those things are manipulable, right? They're typable.
Full of crawl.
Um, and their new one is like ads per 60 seconds. I think it is. I don't know if I'm
Hmm.
giving away Chris's IP. I don't think I am. It was in the report. And
Ad for 60 seconds.
correct. So, how many when a user's on this site or when they're on this page, how many ads do they see over time?
Wow. So you're catching, ads that only show up sometimes, and yeah, I guess I'm just wondering which just don't always get captured with, ads out of view, ads off the page, multiple video players at once. All these things are in Sincera, but 60 seconds seems a good way to wrap it up.
Well, yeah, and it does a lot of things. And here I'm closing applications because I'm consuming bandwidth. I think one of the most clever parts about it, right, is it's meant to simultaneously address a bunch of different things, density included. Because density will inherently affect ads per 60 seconds. Refreshes will inherently affect ads per 60 seconds. Really smart metric. But you have to work with a third-party company to get it. That's the key. Is you have to have something that's on the page that's measuring users that is disinterested, right? That is not a party to one of the things and
Who's
is
that?
also standardized across all websites. And that's what Gamera does. So
Ah,
I'm out here shilling myself shamelessly, but I think it's a really cool project.
but publishers pay you, right?
Not for this one. We're making this one
Ah,
free.
this one's free.
Yeah, we're making this one free
We're thinking about some
because
free
yeah.
tools too. We're thinking about maybe a free URL tool, like see and analyze all the URLs you showed up in, because we deal with index logs and we've built tools to like find out what's the quality of all these URLs in deciles, and what are things like your distribution of refresh rates and add to content ratios, and of course a content tool. How many of these pages are about autos or cats or anything else?
Yeah, I'm a big believer in contextualization just getting really, really good and should be something that's basically free now. Like everyone should have like a really amazing contextualization of their website for whatever purpose. And we
Yeah.
talked about this last week, right? Like Scope 3 and Jonah's company, Mobian, they're going that way. They're like the contextualization is becoming something that everyone is getting to dip their toes into. I think it's a good thing.
The
Yeah.
publisher idea here was that we weren't contextualizing for a while because we assumed that the buyers had already done so. We knew that the DV or IIS crawlers had come to the page, indexed that URL, and classified it. So every time that URL showed up again elsewhere for them, they're referencing what they already know about it. I think today there's a lot of interest in publishers putting forth alternative categorizations because those companies have been quite tough on publishers. They've blocked some spend from happening because of the way that things got contextualized. So Scope 3 and Mobian are offering new alternate views for buyers to say, maybe consider this contextualization instead. Publishers are kind of stuck in saying, well, which one of these do I put against my supply? Which one of these do I say I stand up and believe in? And it's probably the one that's most favorable, the one that's going to drive more advertising dollars to them. But I really like the idea of publishers doing this themselves in some capacity. And there's a new Chrome API that lets you get a topic summary from the page, but that
Okay.
is not it's not yet graphed to IAB categories. So you get kind of a non-standardized response back. It's good for something that you might want to then feed to an LLM, this new concept of geo versus SEO or GE, generative engine optimization. And so you might want to take that
URL.
down and feed it, but it's not helping the buyer as far as I know.
Now, the question I want to talk about is should this be an application or an infrastructure capability? Right? That's what we really mean by free. It's like this should be part of the infrastructure. Like the web is public, so an index of the web is just a helpful tool, right? So I'm thinking this isn't. this isn't shouldn't be an application people pay for. This should be part of the infrastructure that then people try to add value on top of it,
You
which I
know who
think is
could
the original app
standardize
next
this?
idea, right?
I mean, this should all be standard in pre-bid, right? You should be able to push through. You should have a dozen contextual data providers. They should all append their categorizations using some sort of similar taxonomy or whatever taxonomy they sell to buyers. And it should be fully transparent and reportable to publishers, where it's like, hey,
It doesn't have to be
these are the
categories.
10
It could
companies
just be
doing
the
this.
embeddings from the language, like that's how we're doing it now, is like we just take the language embeddings for a given large language model. So it's not like we've skipped the text and are just taking the translation of that text to numbers, what sort of embeddings are, vector embeddings, so that when you ask a large language model, show me pages about cars, it will find all of them. That's
Oh,
what
I
it looks
hope Pat McCann is listening. Prebid should build that tomorrow. Is that
like.
like
Done.
I don't know AI very well.
It's done. I'll show you.
Are those vectors standardized across LLMs? So if you once you perform this function of translating things into like binary or whatever it is,
I'm not sure if it's a
now any
yeah.
LLM can consume that in its pure form.
I don't know if any, but our tool is native in Snowflake, and you could pick three. You could pick from three, and you get different responses, and some are faster than others. I've been using the Llama one, which is slowest and best. So yeah, those are based off the same embedding. So there is some interoperability.
Oh, that would be so cool. Prebid becomes a governing mechanism
Yeah.
for helping contextual
Yeah, the only
companies
part that really
classify.
costs money is the scraping. And
Yeah,
like,
that's the crazy thing, right? And Prebid's on the page. It has access. It could be an access management platform while simultaneously handling the integrations for ad providers. Assuming Cloudflare doesn't do this themselves in some way.
yeah, I
But
think it ends up being infrastructure, so I'm not really looking to charge for it. But I wanted to hit you with something in Yield, where we started, that I
mhm.
didn't understand is that AppNexus was designed as a cloud, and it was very early to be a cloud. It was like 2008,
Uh-huh.
and as Ari describes it in the book, Brian O'Kelly was under a non-compete with Right
He
Media,
was.
so he couldn't make a DSP. So he built AppNexus as a cloud. Is really the idea that it was infrastructure on which a lot of kinds of networks can run, including ad networks. And after a year, his non-compete ended, and he became, buy side, sell side, more of an
Yeah, I
application.
think he sold the cloud to like at least one person. Like, I think it had like one client. Um, but yeah, no, this was like a known thing. When AppNexus was started, the name also wasn't AppNexus. He wanted AdNexus, but it was taken.
Hmm.
And so he switched it to AppNexus, which was very confusing when you were a salesperson there in 2011 and you didn't do anything with any sort of apps. Like, yeah, we're like AppNexus, but we don't do app. We just do ads.
And Nexus.
But yeah, they so this is a true thing. God, I got on this topic again the other night. So this is an on-prem discussion, right? Like this is the cloud stuff that they were building was on-prem cloud management where they owned boxes, they owned data centers. There were a number of humans at AppNexus who were on airplanes flying around the world, like taking a hammer to computers, yelling at them, making them go faster. And it was a thing. That's how we got around it. It's a really sneaky way to get around a non-compete. No, I'm not gonna build a car. What I'm gonna build is a transmission factory, and I'm gonna build the transmissions.
Let's skip the
And
part about getting around your non-compete
yeah,
and to the idea where I've been trying to get my head around where I think ad tech is going, and that's the idea that the application layer gets a lot more flexible and modular because the infrastructure is so much better. That in environments like Snowflake, where I've built this URL tool, my company has built this URL tool, I had nothing to do with, and AWS, which is building some containerized, and Index, where we have containerized RTB since Q4 last year, that you don't have to build out an application with as much functionality as Trade Desk with this insane scale and scope, right? Because the infrastructure is so good, you could have a modular bidder, a modular algorithm, a
are you trying
modular
to get me to say it?
data company. Yeah, there might be a name for this vision.
Fragmolidation. You want fragmolidation?
Yeah, but what I was just surprised to learn that Brian O'Kelly was at least talking about this in 2008, saying that the infrastructure is more important than the application layer.
Well, and so this was interesting. So
around.
this was a different time, right? Because 2008 cloud computing wasn't a huge thing.
Yeah,
So it was not trivial when you had a very high frequency application, which all advertising platforms are. They're wildly high frequency applications, which is a very specific computing task. Like,
yeah,
hey, I need this thing that's going to hold 1 trillion auctions a month in under 100 milliseconds.
yeah.
The number of
Always,
things
and
that
it's always
in
tough.
yeah, like in human
And I need
existence,
to
right?
store it all. I need every every transaction stored too.
Yeah, that needs to go somewhere. And then the number of things in human existence where that's a thing that you have that constantly, and it needs 100% uptime, by the way, which is also insane and needs to happen in real time. Just there aren't very many of them. So back in 2008, AppNexus had to make all kinds of interesting decisions that you wouldn't necessarily make today. And part of their pitch was our cloud infrastructure is optimized for ad tech. It is ad tech specific cloud infrastructure in that most people don't need a system that's going to do 1 trillion things in a month. Most people don't need that, or going to do it really, really fast. I'll never forget there were huge coding debates inside of AppNexus. AppNexus was the core ad serving infrastructure was built in C. And like in the world of nerd engineering, C is a very low level language, which means that you have to do a lot of things by hand. So it's not like typing, like if you look at
Really?
Python, it's like,
Just
yeah,
please help
sorry.
any non-engineering people with low
Yeah.
level means because it mean entry level. It's like architecture, the
Yeah,
low
architecturally, it's low level.
foundational level. It's
It's
like the most
like,
important level and the hardest to build.
yeah, so oh wow, what this is a crazy philosophical one. LLMs are kind of like an uber high level thing. You
Yeah,
can talk to an LLM the way you would talk to a person.
yeah.
And the amount of abstraction that has to exist between the way you talk to a person and then the computer writing the zeros and ones that deliver the code that does the thing, that is the spectrum of high to low. Highest is I talk to my LLM, it
So
does
C.
stuff. Low is I'm typing in zeros and ones.
Okay, get back to
And
your story. So
a lot of them.
low level coding at AppNexus. So
Yeah, so
let me cut to the chase. Is
cut to the chase.
Trade Desk crushes AppNexus in agency sales because
Uh-huh.
Trade Desk is a really agency friendly application.
Uh-huh.
And AppNexus is infrastructure for ad networks, which he was able to sell to WPP, which wanted to start an ad network they called Zaxxas, which, by the way, I learned the name Zaxxas comes from X-axis. Did you know that?
No.
It's X-axis. All right. So he sold, so he was able to sell networks
What?
to Walmart and WPP, Accordant Media, but
Ad
just
networks
beat left
with
behind him with a very
AppNexus's clients.
agency-friendly application and beat him. Like the application beat the infrastructure because
Correct.
core customer.
Because users had to use it. That was the thing. And it had to speak the language of agency. AppNexus never spoke the language of agency. Like when I would talk to people in 2013, why do you use the trade desk? The agencies would say it's because they get my business. They understand what
Yeah,
I care about. And
And this
AppNexus never
language,
had
this
that.
translation is like the challenge that we still have today is how do we reduce the translation? I mean, the LLM example of doing that translation work down to low level code is almost what we need to happen in our breakdown between buyers and sellers today. There's a lot of assumptions and a lot of historical knowledge that don't have equivalencies on the other end.
Yeah, it might be coming. Maybe that's part of what you're getting at, Adam, is the application layer really mattered a lot in 2015 and 2020 even. And maybe we're getting farther away from that because a trader and agency is going to be able to go and type in like,
yeah,
"Hey, my client is this. I need to optimize a budget towards this. Just do it."
yeah.
Like,
I don't go to like agent and like personified humans, but what I observed with Trade Desk and why they were winning is I had a whole team of programmatic traders and they were going to be in interfaces all day and they preferred to be in the Trade Desk interface. That's where
everyone
they
loved it.
wanted to work. So like that's it's irrefutable. Like they'd rather be in there, so they're going to be recommending it. That means I had to sell it to all the clients because my traders were like, I'd rather work in here. I could do better work in here. And I think what Trade Desk achieved there is just uh, the mode on that is eroding, right? You don't have to jump to a machine that you talk to. It's much easier to build interfaces, and it's much easier to build enjoyable user interfaces or user controls for people who are doing much more complicated things. And that's because there's so much great infrastructure to build on top of,
I
right?
mean,
There's so much
I
foundational work is now built into the city.
it's crazy. And also you can vibe code interfaces more
Yeah.
easily than vibe coding almost anything else. Like
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
crazy. So
Yeah.
the iteration you can do for your products when you're building them for an audience is just
Yes.
rapid. Like,
So
how do you
yeah.
want this button to work? How do you want this here? What's a good workflow for this?
Yeah, I
Crazy
noticed the
times.
CEO of Figma is not yet 35, has $5 billion. I looked and see I paid for a Figma license. So Marley Baker, what do we use Figma for?
Well, we used to use it a lot for like wireframing and creating these things manually. I haven't vibe coded at all yet, but I'm very interested.
Hmm.
That's what I'll say.
Okay. So is the new allocator UI? That wasn't done on Figma, was it?
No, it was vibe coded.
On OpenAI? On
I think so. Yeah.
These
It's
companies all have to race to make connectors for the AI interfaces to use them natively. So instead of, typing straight into Claude and having it create the raw HTML code for the UI that you're looking to build, it should be a controller of Figma on your behalf. It should do that translation of what you're asking for and have that show up in Figma.
Thank you.
All right, we're at time. Justin, I want to give you a chance to give us feedback on the show. I know you're a guest and you're on it, but I don't know if you've ever watched it before. Me and Gareth never get any feedback. We love doing the show. I even like watching the show over the weekend after we make it. Our crew all loves the show, but we never really hear from the audience. So, what do you
Well,
think? Good
as
show.
as a last minute guest, I was wondering how you were going to be able to style the fun LED cutouts around me, but I guess I've just hung out here on the TV. I didn't show up in a glowing A today. But
Yeah.
no, the show is great. The dialogue is good. The candor is real, and I've been able to be completely unfiltered with you guys, which is great.
Thanks a lot for coming. Thanks for
Thank
that
you,
feedback.
Justin, so much.
Coming in at the last
Right on.
minute. Maybe next week my kid will throw up blood and we'll need a buy sign. We need a
I'm
buy
here
sign.
for it.
My kid.
I hope not, Adam.
No, not my
I
son.
hope not.
I'll close with a funny story about my son who's 6. Is he first few times he got bloody noses. He's crying hysterically. It's completely scary. You go into your kid in the middle of the night, he's got blood all over his face. But he's had so many bloody noses now that now when he gets one, he spreads the blood all over his face and goes up to other kids and says, "I'm Chucky, wanna play?" And they cry.
You know what? Karma's gonna kick in. He's gonna do that in the middle of the night one night.
What?
You're gonna be lying in bed with your wife, and he's gonna be bedside,
The
and he's
nightmare?
gonna get you, and it's gonna be
Oh yeah, with the blood.
awesome with the blood.
All right, thanks
Thank you
everyone.
guys. Thank you everybody. Thank you, Justin.
See you next week.
Bye.
Yo, the crowd is back, the lights are dim. Front row's buzzing, it's about to begin. Ad tech, ad talk, they're taking the stage.